Hey guys, this is E10 Sun from Sunbros. Today I'm really excited to be bringing you guys this brand new video, but before we get started with that, I want to make sure I remind you guys on how to get entered in for a chance to win our guaranteed skin giveaways that we do every Sunday night during our 1-hour question and answer live stream. All you gotta do is make sure you're subscribed to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and comment below with your in-game name and which skin you'd like to receive on either the NA or EU servers under 700 vouchers. And remember, the more videos that you do this with that are uploaded each week, the higher chance you have to win. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get started with the hero quick look video on Max the Wonderkin. Max is a class tank warrior with role mobility and initiator. As you guys can see in the bottom left, Max is actually above average on anything with a little bit higher constitution and difficulty. Max's passive is static shock. Every time Max damages an enemy, the enemy gets shocked, causing them to suffer true damage per second and having their HP regen speed reduced for 3 seconds. Max's first ability is Bionic Blender. Max spins his robot arms around, dealing physical damage to all enemies. Every time he hits an enemy, he increases his movement speed for 4 seconds. Max's second ability is called Smooth Moves. Max rushes towards his target and flips over them, landing on their opposite side. Once on the other side, Max activates a magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken for 3 seconds. This ability can be used again within 4 seconds. Max's ultimate and third ability is Liftoff. Max fires trackers that attach to all enemy heroes for a short time. The trackers allow allies to see the enemy's locations and interrupt enemy recall actions. While the trackers are active, Max can then select an enemy to track and ram into by holding down the ability button. Ramming into the enemy deals a bunch of physical damage and knocks them back. If Max takes too long to select an enemy, then he will have to fire the trackers again. When Max lands, he activates a magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken and increases his resistance by 30%, and it shocks all nearby enemies. Pressing this ability again while Max is tracking an enemy will cancel the attack, making Max land immediately and activating his force field. Alright guys, now on to his pros and cons. We're going to be starting with his pros, which are his strengths, things that you're going to want to focus on if you're playing as him, and things you're going to want to avoid if you're playing against him. Max's first pro is his damage reduction. He gets damage reduction 2 different ways. His first is his second ability, Smooth Move. When Max flips over a target, he gets a damage reduction that starts at 15% for 3 seconds and goes all the way to 20% at level 6. This is an immediate 20% reduction in damage, followed up by his ultimate Liftoff. When Max lands, he activates a magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken, increasing his resistance by 30% and shocks all nearby enemies. Now, we don't get a good idea of how long that lasts, but it seems to be a pretty decent amount of time. While I haven't confirmed yet whether the damage reduction from the ultimate and the damage reduction from the second ability do stack, I will confirm that via testing and let you guys know in the how to build video. Max's second pro is the true damage from his passive static shock. Every time Max damages an enemy, they get shocked and they suffer true damage per second for 3 seconds. So in this case, it starts off at 64 it looks like. So 64 true damage per second for 3 seconds. Pretty good amount, and it scales pretty well with attack damage. Considering Max can auto attack heroes, he can hit a whole bunch of heroes in an AoE area with Bionic Blender, his first ability, meaning the potential for doing a pretty serious amount of damage via this passive is real, and I'm excited to get going with it. And Max's final pro is that his ultimate Liftoff can go global. That means that Max can cast Liftoff and hit any hero at any time on the enemy team without disruption. Not only can Max cast this ult at any time to any hero on the enemy team, no matter how far away they are, but when he arrives, he casts a magnetic field that gives him a bunch of buffs, like he activates his magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken and increases his resistance, which makes him less crowd controllable. It reduces the amount of time that he can stay crowd controlled, and it shocks all nearby enemies. So while the global ult is an incredible and potent ability, that actually brings us to our first con. Cons are Max's weaknesses, things you're going to want to steer clear if you're playing as him, and things you're going to want to take advantage of and exploit if you're playing against him. So as we were talking about, the first con actually is also the global ult and the trouble that you can get yourself into when not casting it correctly, because it will take you to your final destination, no questions asked, unless you abort. The ability to really get yourself into trouble using that ult is real. The person who gets ulted can see that they're being ulted and can walk you under a tower, or can walk you deep into their base, or all kinds of stuff. So there is definitely some risk to be had with that ultimate, and you have to use it with the right timing and against the proper target. Max's second con is that he has very low ability damage. His first ability does some decent damage with a fairly low cooldown at 5 seconds, but his second ability has no damage, just tankiness, and his ultimate has some pretty good damage, but has a whopping 70-second cooldown at level 1 and a 60-second cooldown at level 3. So a very high amount of Max's damage is going to come from his passive, his first ability, and of course anything else that you bring via items that can add to your damage pool. And Max's last and final con is that he is a very difficult hero to master. Not only do you have to learn how to build Max properly and how to play him properly, but he's a very timing intensive hero, so you really have to learn not only learning when to hit your abilities, but also who to best use them against and in what proper timing. Alright guys, that is it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Thank you for watching, and as always, till next time.